Take your time.
All right, thanks. Okay, guys, we're live.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the Town of Somers Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The date is July 18th, 2023. Denise, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Gio?
Here.
Mr. Hardin?
There.
Mr. Lansky?
Here.
Mr. Newman?
Here.
Mr. Padavani?
Here.
Chairman Canestra?
Here.
Thank you.
I'd ask everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Do you want me to turn this?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Just to make mention, this is a public meeting. Anybody that wishes to comment on any of the applications is more than welcome to do so. Also, the public can call in on Zoom and we can hear you over screen. So, okay, so we're going to go right into the agenda this evening. First item on the agenda is that of Jason Long. This is an application for a rear yard area variance for an addition to an existing dwelling in an R10 residential district at 20 Lakeview Drive, Yorktown Heights. Sir, if you could just give us your name and how you represent the applicant.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. My name is John Scavelli, engineer working with Mr. and Mrs. Long on the application at Lake Drive. Just to give a summary of the proposed application. So the existing property is a single family dwelling, and the owners are looking to add a new single-story garage on the right side of the property. And in order to get the required depth for the garage parking, they're seeking a variance for a rear yard setback. If you look on the site plan, it's the back right corner. That I highlighted right on this corner.
See that?
So you could see from the lot, it's not a standard shaped lot. And it turns out, even though that this long shape runs adjacent to this side of the property, by the zoning code, it's considered the rear lot line on the side there. So therefore, it actually requires a rear yard setback depth, which is a bit longer. So we're seeking to get a variance for that rear yard setback. The layout is essentially the existing dwelling is right here, and essentially the driveway is off to the right already. So instead of having the cars parked in the front yard, supposed to add this garage structure here so that they can have parking right next to the existing dwelling. And there is a letter of support that the owners, could they add this to the record? This is from the neighbor directly across the street in support of the application.
Sure, I'll take that, and I can't read it into the record. Now, this is across the street, not next to.
Not next to, but the way the property is set up, there is a lot of screening on the sides of the property. So really this neighbor would be the one that's directly seeing this structure the most.
Okay. And you said the depth of the garage is necessary to fit the cars.
Yeah, it's to fit the cars as well as have storage space so that, essentially they don't have to leave it on their front driveway. They can actually, park their cars and storage in the new structure.
And you don't want the front of the garage protruding significantly in front of the house.
Correct. So we did do our best to pull it slightly in front of the existing house, but to pull it completely towards the front would really leave no room for a driveway, and really I think be more of an eyesore to bring that structure completely up toward the front of the house. And there is a limitation too, because of it is close to the front yard setback at that location as well.
Okay, is the standard depth of a garage? Is it meets the standard depth of the garage?
So, yeah, so it does meet the standard depth of a garage. Now, the homeowner does have a truck, so it's a little bit longer than normal. And they really want to be able to fit the vehicle that they have to park in garage.
And that's a single garage or a double?
It would be a double garage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And would the garage be connected to the house?
Yes, it would be connected to the house.
Mm-hmm.
On the plan here, I see a door from the garage that goes into the house, and then I guess also a door to the front patio, it looks like.
Correct. Yep. There'd be a side door that would go to small front patio.
Okay. And the requirement here per the code is 25 feet. And you're proposing 13 feet, 13.8 feet.
Correct.
Looks like is what the setback would be. Okay. Just for the record, I do see a letter here dated July 18th, which is today, addressed to us, proposed addition at the Long Residence, 20 Lakeview Drive. Dear chairperson and members of the board, I am the neighbor of Jason and Samantha Long's property at 20 Lakeview Drive. The Longs were kind enough, to share with me the site plan for the proposed construction of an addition to their home. I would like you to know that we fully support the granting of the variance they are seeking. And this is from Jonathan, sincerely, Jonathan Daniels, 21 Lakeview Drive, Yorktown Heights, New York. Okay. Let me ask you this, the setback from that property line, how close is the neighbor's house?
Oh, beyond there. You know, I don't have an exact dimension, but if you do look at this, site plan,
Oh, I see, there's a little, it's a little tiny, but yeah.
yeah, the road kind of goes around a curve. And that neighboring house is much further up on the curve. Over in this area. And I do have a street view image that shows that there is a lot of screening along that side of the property.
It's over 100 feet based upon the scaling I'm doing.
What you're seeing.
And there's plenty of foliage there. And I would say that this is a unique lot in terms of how what would normally be a rear yard and side yard is converted a little bit. It's on a bend here in Lakeview Drive, and it doesn't appear that it's going to have from the aerials any impact on the neighbors.
Have you spoken with that neighbor
So,
most closely affected?
oh,
Fortunately deceased, and their home is for sale, and the person selling their home is.
Just a realtor, I think, from.
Okay,
I believe, sir.
okay. And just for the record, they said that the applicant said that the neighbor is deceased. It's probably an estate that owns it, and the property is currently for sale. Okay, so there really hasn't been a discussion with that neighbor next door, but as you said, Bart, it's kind of far away from the property line.
It appears to be, the houses are well over 100 feet apart. There is mature vegetation in the properties. And it's a unique lot. It does.
I apologize. I'm sorry to interrupt. Bart, can you take the microphone to the right of you? For some reason, your mic is not working.
Oh.
On the desk to the right of you.
Oh, maybe to the.
Yeah, I can grab that. Sorry about that. It's okay. I don't generally say anything important. So, but just to reiterate, if you didn't hear, it's a unique lot. They have mature vegetation between them and the neighbor. It's on a bend in the road. It's more than 100 feet away from the adjacent house. And there appears, based upon the layout of the house, to be a unique situation with the setbacks in terms of what we're calling them. And so I don't see any impact on the neighborhood, any negative impact on the neighborhood, and I would be in favor.
Now you're in an R10 district, which is 10,000 square feet, but it looks like your lot is about 35,000 square feet. Is that on what I'm seeing here?
yeah, correct. Yeah.
So, okay, not quite an acre, but in between 3/4 and an acre. Okay.
Vic, excuse me.
Sure.
I just want you to, I just want for the record, you to know that they got Department of Health approval for this project.
Okay.
So I agree. So if the house is over 100 feet away, the backyard, I mean, this is getting pretty close to that backyard of that house. And that which is 18 Lakeview, right? And 18 Lakeview is sort of surrounded by on three sides by homes. It has kind of one on the back, one on the side, and one on each side. You know, it does from an aerial view, does appear to have some mature mature trees, as you say. From a street view, probably not as much. So, you know, it is getting pretty close to the backyard. Now, whether that backyard is used or not, or how much of that is lawn versus wooded, it's hard to tell exactly. I mean, I understand the site plan and why it would be done that way. Any other direction would have certainly encroached less. Loads of room going the other direction, without really encroaching on any properties. But I mean, clearly the driveway was the reason that you put the garage there.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Because the odd shape of the lot, you have this perimeter or setback all around the property. It kind of chews up a lot of the property. We see that.
Yeah, it has a narrow, kind of usable lot, because of the shape of the lot lines.
Yeah.
Right, right. I see that. He has no choice.
Yeah.
Is it, oh, it looks like there's a stream also going through the property.
Yeah, there is a, like a water course towards the rear, the back, like left side of the property.
With this being an R10 district, this lot isn't subdividable, right? This is going to stay as is.
This would just say, yeah, as is, as a single family lot.
Right. Okay.
Now, in a sense, with the stream being here, what about the setbacks for wet water,
So,
Wetlands, yeah.
wetlands?
yeah, although it's showing on the survey, it's my understanding that it's not a designated wetland where there's a required buffer to that stream. If there's like 100-foot buffer to like a regulated wetland,
Yeah.
actually the whole house would be within that, but it's not designated as such.
Denise, do you know if engineering has taken a look at this, or is Tom on with us by any chance?
Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
Tom, yep, Tom's
And
on.
They have taken a look at it. I believe the determination is included in the packet, in your packet. Trying to locate it. There's a
I'm-
June 30, 2021 document from planning and engineering.
Yeah, we don't have that in the packet. Maybe you
Okay.
could tell me what it says, Tom? I mean, have they
Yeah,
addressed that issue?
If this is the same application that was submitted to them, and Mr. Scavelli can confirm that, in June 30th, 2021, the letter states that the subject determination revealed that a wetland permit administered by the planning board and New York State DEC may be required for the construction of the addition and the garage.
So it may be required,
It's a planning board issue
Yeah.
rather than a zoning.
right?
Yeah, so this, if the board were to approve the application, it would go back to planning and engineering for a clarification of that. If this is in fact the same application that was submitted back in 2021.
Okay, all right, so we can make a decision pending planning board's follow-up with any wetlands permits or other things they might have to do. Okay.
Yeah.
This garage addition will not affect the wellhead or the septic?
No. Yeah, the septic is actually completely on the other side of the property.
Okay. So it looks like, to kind of summarize what we've got here, you've got a required 25-foot setback. You're proposing 13.8, so you're looking for a variance for 11.2 feet. My math is correct there.
Yes, correct.
Other questions from the board or discussion before we ask if the public has any comments?
I am good.
Just, I have a quick question. Did you consider, did you consider any other alternatives to this? Did you ever
So-
consider the garage on the flipping the garage in the living space?
So we did consider that, but their septic is on the other side of the property, and the topography of the lot on the left side, it actually drops off. So really where the driveway comes in, really the right side, based on the current grading of the property, would really be the only spot to have a drive off off the road without having to do significant changes to topography.
So the septic wouldn't matter that much, right? Because you're building on both sides anyway. So I assume you there.
Yes, yeah, this septic existing field as is.
But when you had considered flipping it, the problem is cutting in the driveway.
The driveway, exactly, the way the topography worked for the connection from the actual street.
Variance wouldn't be needed on that left side from that other property line?
It would, no matter what they do, they probably would need a variance, no matter how this was configured. Those other variances would be much further away from any other yard or home.
Got it.
And there's no variance required for the other side of the house?
So the other side, that would become a side yard. Now there's a kind of a jog there.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very kind of unique.
I would just say that if you pull out and look at this on Google Maps and you look at the neighborhood, and we know we're in R10, and many of these are much smaller lots, and this is one of the green areas with it's, you know, most of our task is to make sure that this doesn't have a negative impact on the neighborhood. And this is, even with the variance, more gracious than many of the houses on Crest and Parkway and Ross Drive, which are, you know, the adjoining streets. It is more spread out by its nature. So I don't think it has a negative impact on the neighborhood.
I mean, in an R10 district, you theoretically could have 3 lots here and 3 homes based on the size of the lot.
You could,
All to the, when you talk about the green space and we talk about 3 lots, yes, absolutely. But all to the opposite direction of the direction this variance is going.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
yeah, no, I understand
That way would be so much more ideal.
that.
They can't get it down there though.
It just,
Because it's narrow. Because it's a lot.
Pick it all up and move it.
And if you look at that Google map, right, and you look at 18,
yep,
they're kind of getting close,
it's
more closed in than they are 3 surrounding homes.
that's that neighborhood. And you could never have 10,000 square foot lot today because you can't do the redundancy requirement for septics. You can't fit it. Right? So you can't fit a house and 2 septic fields on a 10,000 anymore. So this is one of the more gracious lots. It's in a neighbor. I just don't think it's going to impact the neighborhood. And I think that's our purview.
Right. The garage here. This is a garage with peaked roof.
So it will have a peaked roof. It's
Is it gonna have a second story above it?
no, it'll be a 1-story.
1 story.
Yeah.
And the addition to the rest of the house, I see you're putting something on the left. Are you adding a second story onto the house, or is there a second story there?
No, it would all be a 1-story. And then so the way the lot is on the back side, it's like a walkout basement.
Okay.
So where the garage is, it's just gonna be a 1-story because the grade's high. On the left side addition, it will have like a walkout basement below it, but it's still at that 1-story.
It's basically a ranch level with then kind of a usable basement under the
Correct.
under the
Yes.
side of the house.
Yeah.
Nothing under the garage though, right? The
No.
garage is just gonna be on slab.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know approximately how many trees you would remove to that garage?
Yep. Approximately. I have a few pictures here. I don't know if you guys know, maybe 4 or 2.
The only really 1 small pine tree and 1 tree that's towards the back of the house. There's no actual live standing foliage there that wasn't already there.
And-
We go out to the public and see what they have to say, then we come back to this. Okay, so let's open this up for public comment. Does anybody here wish to speak in regard to this application? Or if anyone online wishes to speak in regard to this application, you can call one of the numbers in the white box. And then we can put you on screen and you can ask your question, or if you have a comment, we'd be happy to hear it. So we'll just leave it open for a minute, see if anybody would like to speak. Anybody here in the audience wish to speak in regard to this application?
No.
And of course, Denise, the notice went out to the neighbors, notifying them of this zoning board application.
Correct. And a lot of notices went out because it's a small lot. And
Right,
I
so-
have not heard from anybody.
Okay, yeah, I assume there was a lot of mailings in an R10 district. Yep, yep. Okay. All right, so while we're waiting for public, anybody wants to call in, any other comments from the board or discussion?
Sorry, can I just ask another tree question? The pine you're referring to, is that pine directly up, like almost against the side of the house there? And then behind that, there's a very tall pine
Not that one. sir.
that stays.
Yes.
Not how old, if you're looking up, so I don't know what you're looking at.
One of the trees actually there actually fell onto the house.
Oh, right.
So that one's actually.
Yeah, I might take that one down anyway. Yeah,
The one to the right.
I'm just getting a sense of, yeah. So you'd still have, from what it looks like here, you'd still have lawn that would continue around the
Yeah.
back.
Google Earth is 2012.
Is it?
Well, the street view is, the overview is. recent.
We had a huge pine tree and that came down a few years. ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thankfully.
So Paul, do we have anyone trying to get on? Any public comment?
No, we do not.
All right, so I think we're gonna conclude the public comment section at this point in time. Further discussions the board would like to have on this?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
Any further comments or anything else the applicant would like to say at this point in time before we have a discussion, final discussion, go for a vote?
No.
I think that we're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Any further comments? Are we ready to vote on this matter?
I'm ready.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for the type of action.
Motion type 2.
Second.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can we have a motion as to whether we're going to grant or deny the application? Keep in mind, this is 11.2 feet variance being requested by the applicant.
And just for clarity, this is a side yard variance,
This would be a rear yard.
the rear yard.
Yeah, this is considered a rear
It
yard.
doesn't say here specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it does say. My apologies.
I move we accept the application for the 11.2 variance.
Now we're going to grant it
11.
11.2 feet, right? They have proposed is 13.8. They need 25, so they need a variance of 11.2,
Right.
right?
Correct, yeah.
Given some of our other applications, do we want to give them 12 feet? I found that our surveyors and Silvers aren't so precise.
We'd be granting the application as proposed. Hopefully it's accurate. I second. Okay, so Bill made the motion, Paul seconded the motion.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye. Congratulations, your
you.
application has been granted.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you as well.
I'm going to hold on to the letter just to keep it as part of the file.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the second item on the agenda this evening. This is the application of Nicholas Foster. This is an application for an accessory apartment alteration to an existing recreation area above a detached structure to an existing dwelling in an R80 residential district at 4 North Lane, Katona. Sir, if you could just give us your name and address, please.
Yes, I'm Nick Foster from Fort North Lane.
Okay. And if you
Vic?
could briefly describe your application for us, what you're seeking from us?
Sure, I made some notes, so I'm just gonna read
Sure, that's fine.
quickly.
That's okay.
I built that house in 1980, and we've been in Somers for 43 years. Been through quite a few building inspectors and supervisors. We raised our family here and we've been living and working in Westchester the whole time. In 1987, we built a 3-car garage with all the proper permits approval and received a C of O for it at the time. Later, 21 years later, applied for and received a building permit to put a second story on the garage. We was CO at the time for a finished room garage, along with all the necessary plumbing permits. We might for a future accessory use apartment, including a bathroom and a boiler and all the necessary. We got all approvals from the town on all of these issues. We passed all the inspections in 2008, met all the building codes, and I have all that paperwork with me here tonight. And I believe Tom has all this as well in our file.
Tom Tuma, the building
Tom
inspector.
Tom, the building inspector.
Yes.
Yes. Since then, we've been using this space as a home office, workout room, overflow space, etc. And I met with Tom and Denise a few weeks ago and filled out the application that's before you to meet with you tonight to hopefully gain approval for an accessory use apartment in this space. I believe we meet all the necessary requirements for that. And just we're asking you for your approval and the variance to do so we move forward.
So Denise, what we're really looking to do here, are we looking to grant a special exception use permit for an accessory apartment?
Correct. Mr. Forster wants to turn his existing rec room into a 1-bedroom accessory apartment. And this application needs health department approval as the permits are subject to it.
Okay. I noticed that our application here says this is an R80 district,
Yes.
but it looks like is the lot conforming? It says, yes, we're 1.7 acres. That would be
Math.
probably pretty close. Okay. I'm just trying to, because an acre is about 44,000 square feet. So, okay. And Tom, have you been out to inspect this area? And is this floor area 800 square feet?
I have not physically been out to inspect the area.
Okay.
That would be done prior to permit issuance.
Okay.
Right, because it's not an apartment yet, so he doesn't inspect it
Until it's built.
Yeah.
Built, right?
Yeah. So, sir, is that area 800 square feet? Is that about what it is?
Well,
I mean, that's pretty precise, you know, so.
yeah, the roof of the second story is severe. And so it cuts off quite a bit of the space upstairs. So without
You have to put up some kind of,
without giving it to an architect to do it, by the time I subtracted 5 or 6 feet of space that's being cut off, I think it's about that, but I haven't gotten into the real plans with an architect until I meet with you guys and.
But when you do, you'll instruct the architect that you want an 800 square foot apartment, I would assume, and that's what he'll design.
I'll wait to see what it, yes, well, the space exists now as a recreation space. I mean, we built it.
Yeah.
It's there, it's insulated, there's electrical, I mean, it's there. So depending on what he measures it at, and because I don't know what the zoning is for those slopes. I know in some states it's 5 feet, some feet 6 feet, that cuts off that
a
space.
certain ceiling height in there. I would refer you to the building inspector.
Right.
So are we really approving an accessory apartment? Because it's not built yet. So I'm not really sure what we are,
We don't have a plan.
Well,
right, what we're approving here.
I would tell you that, my understanding of the building code is for livable space, if you're creating livable space. it would be 7'6" would be the determining number. And if you don't have full height, you wouldn't count that space. So by this open math, you would have more than square footage, but it's actually less than square footage looking at your section, less than the 800 square feet. So you would, in my opinion, qualify for the 800 square feet. But I think you have another problem in that much of this space is below ceiling height. There's not a lot of it. You had the kitchen area, much of the kitchen area, according to the section, is at 6'8", and other parts are very low as well. So I think you're gonna want to see an.
I don't, space is only restricted on the west side of the building. On the opposite side where the kitchen is.
Yep. Now, the other thing that I'm concerned with
I don't know that.
is 2 entry points.
All right,
Well, that's a building department.
Right, but there's nothing stating here that there is.
He can have a egress window as well as the.
they're all there.
And so that he probably, for that to be occupable space, has an egress window in there, but you do.
Does an egress window work though if you're on the second floor?
It does. It does. You can be on the second floor. They can put a ladder to it. That's what the New York State Building Code allows. As long as you have the sufficient number of square inches, which I don't remember offhand, but Tom will tell you.
We have many of them.
Yeah, as long as they're of the right size, but I do think, looking at your section, that this goes across the length of the house, the way your roof is, it's set up. That you have ceiling height questions, which you're gonna to address. And not necessarily, I mean, that's gonna be a building department issue, likely. I don't know how much we get into that, but it would be helpful for our purposes to see what this apartment is.
May I show?
Sure.
When you look at the. You only have.
Sir, if you could maybe just show him and then just speak in the microphone so everybody can hear what you're saying. Try to have everything on the record here.
Yeah, the dormers.
That's.
Might be able to turn that microphone around.
Yeah. It's hard.
You got a microphone right so we can hear you. Yep.
The dormers are on this side. This is where the kitchen is.
Yep.
And this is where the, only 6'5" here, but it slopes up like that. So it's clear height there.
Yeah, that says 6'5",
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be able to get them.
but that's the whole, that's right here. That's this back part of the house. That's the whole back part of the house.
That's right, the whole back.
And the front part is dormered.
That's
And
correct.
so the areas which don't have the dormers are less than height. And this whole back part of the house is restricted as well. Don't have that much livable space.
So that would be, and all that would come out in the building permit.
That's all coming on the building permit. I think that's just advice. I don't think it affects our purview necessarily.
Yeah, once again, I kind of get back to, I don't know how we grant a special exception use permit without seeing a plan and knowing the final square footage and knowing that the building inspector has been out there to do an eyeball on the property.
We don't want them to build this
Right.
money to build a unit without knowing it'll be approved.
So why don't we look at the other factors, right? Ensure that there are no other obstacles. And then, I guess give an opinion that the board would have no objection to an accessory apartment there, provided that it met the 800 square feet.
It's got to be 800 or less. It could be 600 or 400.
Right.
Yeah,
And just, can you run me down the timeline again? So the initial garage, which was 1 story, was built in 1987,
Correct,
and the second story was put on in what year?
2008.
Okay, so I guess my question is to Tom, the fact that the building was the first floor of the building was built in 1987, that clears the 1992 requirement.
Right.
Even though the second floor, which is what's being worked on, was built in 2008. I just want to clarify that. Tom, do you know that answer?
Yes, that's the way I view it. And precedence has, it's been interpreted that way before in the past by the
Okay.
board.
So 1987 is our basis.
Okay.
Yes.
And Tom, also too, we were talking about this, is it does have one direct entrance through an exterior staircase. Is a window, an escape window, okay for a second means of egress in this type of a situation?
Yes, it is. And that window would have to be located within the bedroom.
Okay, it'd have to be located within the bedroom. Did you hear what the building inspector said? Okay. And there's electric and plumbing to this part of the building?
Yes, and a boiler.
Yeah, I mean,
And the
so
build
provided, I mean, all of the other criteria appear to be met. I guess pending a building permit being issued such that it could meet the square footage requirements, I would be inclined to approve an accessory apartment here. I just don't know if we can approve one that doesn't yet exist. But
Yeah.
I understand the predicament. He doesn't want to build it if it's not going to get approved.
Yeah, I mean, I think my opinion would be, as long as you build the apartment in accordance with the code requirements for an accessory apartment, no more than 800 square feet.
Right.
And meets the, egress requirements and has proper smoke and carbon CO2 detectors and stove and, whatever other requirements are there. I think I would also be inclined to approve it. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't.
Okay.
But I don't know that we can approve it today because we haven't seen it. The building inspector hasn't inspected it. We're approving something that is to be built.
Well, I don't think we have to see it, but I do think a plan showing 800 square feet and how that works would be useful.
Or less.
Yeah, 800 square feet or less. And I do think he'll meet that given his ceiling heights, but I would suggest that he meets with his architect on how much of that space he's going to be able to use.
Right.
Just because there's a lot of low ceilings in there.
Well, also too, this is a 3-car garage. That could be quite a big space up there too. I don't want the applicant to come back to us with a 1,200 square foot accessory apartment.
Right.
You can see the dimensions, it's 28 by 30.
Yes, it's gonna be 9.
Right.
So it's 1,000.
Right, so it's, and then you take off the areas inside the dormers because they're low. You take off the back end of the building. He's well below 800 square feet.
Mhm.
There's just not a lot of space there, which is 7.6 or better.
And we have no plans to increase the footprint or the exterior walls or any of that building walls.
So anything under 7.6, you're saying can be used, but is not counted as living space?
Well, I'd rather hear what Tom has to say about that, but that's my experience is that 7'6" is what you need for living space. But if it's pre-existing non-conforming, that's different, right? You go into a house from the 1900s where all the ceilings are low. But in a newer structure where you're bringing it online for something, it's supposed to meet code. And so I just think there's if you want an opinion from Tom, he's the right person. I've just seen that be an issue in other places.
So this
Before
plan
any
as
building
given,
permit,
go ahead, Tom.
before any building permit is issued, the plans will meet the code. The habitable space, ceiling heights vary. It has to do with percentage of the space as far as the ceiling goes. At no point can you have less than 5 feet, but that's for me to review upon submission of the plans. And I can assure you that it'll meet code before a permit's issued.
Fair enough. Better answer.
Good. I mean,
So it would seem that possibly once the permit is issued and we have a more final plan, understanding the square footage, we might be able to grant, right?
I would just hate to see him spend all that money and time if we're not gonna grant it. But I do think the board would be assisted by somebody, an architect, drawing a line and showing what the heights are and what the square footage of the apartment is. Because we're seeing 1,000 square foot plan and it's written as 800, so a little bit more clarification, I would think would be helpful. I would hate to see him spend a whole bunch of money
But
get to the finish line.
I think what we're saying to the applicant too, as long as it's built, you know, in accordance with the code in a reasonable manner, you know, you can go under 800. It's not like you have to hit 800. As long as there's not some egregious deviation from the code, I think the board might be very amenable to granting the variance. I mean, if you looked at historically at our meetings, you know, I think we're pretty good in granting these type of accessory apartments. They're subject to a 7-year permit. But like I said, I've never approved one in all my years until it's finalized and we have final plans and we know what we're approving. We're kind of approving, you know, kind of a,
As if.
yeah,
But this, I mean, this is the plan. You're gonna submit this plan for,
Well,
revised.
no, well, that would be revised is when that was done back in 2008 is an anticipation of applying in the future. So what we built was an open space plan that we've been using as a rec room. Ceiling heights are established, sheetrock is there, electrical's there. I mean, it's there. So we would be converting that space to something very similar to that. That's an old plan that would need to be updated before I submitted it to Tom
right?
by an architect and stamps and all that, right? Engineer.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if you take out the dormers, I'm down to 944.
And then, well, okay, so from what I understood from Tommy, that's, you take out anything below 5 foot, because he had to build a wall for that. And then you're still at 9 something, so.
No, you
So-
you'd be at 8,
Well,
wouldn't you?
Well,
doing the math, right?
Yeah.
So if you just take out the little dormer section, you're at 900 something.
944. So you got 144 to go.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from.
Again,
I mean,
if,
so
Mr. Foster-
Tom, say that again,
If-
please.
again, if Mr. Foster submitted a plan and the square footage wasn't between 300 and 800 square feet, the permit would be denied and he'd be back before you.
For a variance.
Correct.
You know, until we have
Well, that's a good
I think
point.
that's,
He's basically saying, we can approve this and he'll send it back to us if it doesn't come in at 800 square feet. We can approve it at no more than 800 square feet and get him on its way.
well, even if, whether we approve it or not,
Yeah.
it's gonna kick to us for a variance. Tonight, we were approving
A special exception.
permit.
use permit.
We're not approving the variance, a variance for square footage.
Correct,
We're just approving.
because he submitted at 800 square feet.
So it wouldn't come back to us if it wasn't over 800 square feet.
Correct.
Right.
Right?
Right. So based on that, so if he's asking for a permit for an 800,
Especially exception use permit for
800,
apartment not to exceed 800 square feet.
Right.
Right.
we're okay with everything else.
Right.
Yep,
We could grant that and then,
he can go about his business, and if it comes back, it comes back.
May I ask a question?
yeah,
What if I applied for a permit for 944 square feet?
you'd have to, it would be a separate application to this because where it's an area variance as opposed to just the permit.
But they did,
You'd be,
Denise was saying they used to grant them as part of this, right? Some of the old applications we did. Right, they were different sizes, some of those apartments,
I mean, we have granted apartments in excess of 800,
Sure.
but
without.
I don't know. I can't assure you that we're going to do that because
Right.
here you're building an apartment and intentionally building it larger than the code permits.
Yeah.
You know what the code is now.
Right.
We know what the code is. And for you to build it larger than that and then come into us and ask for a variance, I have a little bit of a problem with that. So I don't think that's really the way we should go. We're supposed to follow the code, grant exceptions when necessary, and to mitigate them as much as possible. You have every opportunity to mitigate this and not have it at that level. So if you're over 800, you could have,
But the space exists. Up to a CO 2008 for certain for footage,
right?
which happens to be in excess of 800 square feet. for an accessory use.
Right, but you can build, you can get a C of O and build something larger, doesn't mean it's suitable for an accessory apartment.
Right.
But
It's
maybe
for
if you
use.
cut down the dormer space and maybe you could put storage in an area.
I mean, you can just slide in that wall until you get to 800, right? I mean, it's just,
I know, but
you're
creating dead space.
yeah, of course, but
Storage or something else, you know?
the storage count.
Yes, I think it does, but if it's within the apartment,
Yeah, if it's with.
if it's outside the apartment, if this had if there was some common area,
Well, I think we're 144. I mean, if you look at the total size of this, and I just take
A
out,
little over 1,000.
I just take out 64 feet for these 4 indents here for the dormers, right? You're at 944. There doesn't appear to be any way to get any bigger, right? If he came to us asking, if we granted him a special exception use permit for an 800 square foot apartment, and as it turned out, when the architect gets through with this, it comes in at 875. He could come for a second variance, which wouldn't be a great expense.
or he can make a decision. I don't know if we have a notice issue, and he would need to be back next month,
If he wants a variance, he has that, we have to notice it.
right? So, but I know you've in the past done this as part of the special exception use permit, but if
When it was.
But what we have before us is a request for something which is 800 square feet, which we don't have in front of us. So maybe the easiest thing is for him to request a 944 square, say that this is the true application and come back next month. And I'm not sure.
I think it's cleaner to approve in addition to the use variance, an area variance for something that doesn't exist. I feel like that's starting to stretch. I feel like we could grant the use permit for 800. And that would be.
We know this exists though, and we now know Tommy's interpretation on square footage. Other people will do different things with square footage when it's below height, but he's saying if it's at 5 foot or more, it has to be at least 5 feet, but he's counting the rest of that square footage. So we know this is going to be 900 and something square feet. And there's really no way to change this. There's one way in, there's no way to do a common area. So I think it's cleaner to just address it up front, but I don't think we can do that based upon what this checklist tells us. I think we need a real square footage number. And then it should be noticed as a variance.
Right, because it hasn't been noticed as a variance, so that would change.
So you're suggesting that
I'm suggesting that he come back next.
not be approved tonight. He gets his plans, the exact square footage.
Yeah.
Then we vote the use permit and the area variance, say to 950 or whatever it comes out to at the same go.
Yeah.
Let me ask Tom once again. I'm just a little confused. Tom, can you tell me how you calculate the square footage of this? I mean, all space above the garage included in the square footage, even space that might only be 4 or 5 feet tall, would it all be part of the accessory apartment?
The codes have a definition of habitable space, and I utilize habitable space as the square footage calculation.
All square footage of the space, even if it's only 5 feet tall?
If it's habitable, yes.
Habitable.
And what's the definition of habitable?
Oh, you could put a bed up in that. And
Yeah, I think he said habitable. So anybody who's in mid-earth can use it.
but I mean, the lowest ceiling height here is 7.6, 7.3.
No, that's in the center.
That's the highest.
That's the highest.
The highest.
Yeah, I mean.
That's Tom, that's why I brought it up.
There's some space that's only 2'10" and 4'3".
Right.
Next to the dormers.
I don't consider it habitable.
So I don't know if that's habitable. I mean, Tom, if you have like some storage space that's very low height, like 3 or 4 feet, is that considered part of the habitable space of the accessory apartment?
That would not be considered habitable. It sounded like to me, if Mr. Foster is willing, he should get a floor plan drawn up with square footage calculated and returned to the board.
That's what I think is a good idea. I think for us to approve, this is kind of approving something in the ether. And, you know, I think without a plan and square footage, and you may need a variance. So if you need a variance, even if we approve something, you need a variance, it has to be renoticed.
But I got confused because I didn't understand Tommy. If it's under 5 feet, we're counting it or we're not counting it?
Not counting.
We're not counting. But
Code-
if anything
the code-
above 5 foot, we're counting.
I'm not sure what
Yeah.
that height
He
is.
said closet.
Oh,
He said closet.
He said closet, okay.
Tommy
I-
answered the
again-
question that Vic asked that Tommy answered.
Storage, like if you have a.
Closet area that was, you know. So if they took this area over here where it's 5 feet and under and made that storage closet, Tommy would not calculate it.
Okay. But everything else is calculated.
Right, so if that side of the house is 28 feet and you go, so if it's a 5 foot, I mean, if there's a 5 foot deep closet along the entire side where it's only 5 feet tall.
that's not counting.
Well, let's look at the zoning.
At all.
Then you're gonna get to 800.
If it was 900.
Yeah, you get to 800, I think.
Under eight.
I don't know if that's,
I'd have to do the
I think his problem is he's over, if anything. I get
At
that.
all, you know what I mean?
Exactly what you mean.
It's not.
A designer could get creative and build a wall at 6'6" to lessen the square footage.
Yeah,
But
but
we're-
I would be,
I,
I wouldn't think of using that at 4'3" and under. If it's under 800 square feet at 4'3" and under, I wouldn't have a problem
Right,
with a variance if that
Not
was
that big.
included in that 944.
Right.
I mean, it depends. So I don't have a dimension on how, where it says 4'3", Paul.
Yeah,
If I knew the dimension from there to the wall,
okay,
we could multiply that by 28 feet, which is that side of the house. So let's just say that was 4 feet. Then we'd be at what, 112. So we still got about 32 to go, but get pretty damn close.
pretty close.
I mean, Mr. Foster, I think.
So if it
Board-
were 5, you'd be bingo.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think the board might be amenable to granting maybe an accessory apartment slightly above the 800. But we don't know what that number is and we can't grant a variance without knowing that number. So, and I don't know that you can bring this in under 800 easily. So that's why I think we have to have a final floor plan, and I think you might want to come back before us next month asking for a variance for whatever additional square footage you want above 800. That would be my take. on
Yeah.
this.
I'd rather see a vote on what it's gonna be without having walls hiding stuff and
Yeah, yeah.
chicanery.
Yeah, I mean, to just,
Well,
to lessen the size of the apartment just to get to the square footage when you got a little bit of somewhat usable space, we might grant that, but I don't, I've got to, I think we have to see a final plan, and then we have to have a specific variance amount, because when the notice goes out, the notice will indicate, okay, a variance of this many square feet. Because think about it, I mean, you have an accessory apartment, if you want 850 square feet, that's a very different application from someone asking for a 1,200 square foot accessory apartment. Because then someone thinks, well, it might be a 2-bedroom or 3, and there might be more people. So we can't just say we're going to grant a variance. We need to know specifically what the variance is. And I'm not sure we can tell that from what we have here.
Well, I think I could probably, go ahead, Denise.
Sure, Denise?
Yeah, Vic, I just want to make a slight, the public notice will say, for example, the public notice that went out for tonight said to get a special exception use permit, the end. If it has to be renoticed, it would be special exception use permit and a variance. It doesn't specifically say all that. The application would say that, and then that would be, translated onto the agenda.
But the public will know that there is a variance being requested, but they may not know the size of the variance. Is that what
Well,
you're saying?
then that's where it says on the bottom, for further information, call Denise Shermer. And then I, answer their questions. And on more than one occasion, I've had people come in and actually look at the submission.
So why not vote on 800 square feet special exception use permit tonight? He'll He'll design it, he'll submit the building permit. If it falls within that range, Tommy will determine and he doesn't have to come see us again.
That works.
And if he goes to Tommy and submits a building permit and it's 944, then he'll come for 144 for square foot variance. But
So-
there's a possibility that it will come in under 800. Tommy will issue the building permit and you won't have to come back and see us. Wouldn't that be most efficient for everyone?
I think it would be. I just worry about some of the cases that we've had, like, so this floor plan is what gets attached and is part of the file. And so he has
Not-
approval for a special exception use permit, and this is the floor plan, which is part of that.
Yeah, Bart,
And- Yeah,
I'm sorry. That plan would definitely not be attached to his
Oh.
application. It's not even a stamped plan, right? That would, if, let's say you approve the special exception use permit with
okay.
the understanding that it cannot exceed 800 square feet, then Mr. Foster would have to go to Tommy for a building permit with a plan that reflected that. And then a copy of that plan would go into the zoning file to
So-
prove that it's 800 square feet.
So, I mean, I guess this could also be conditional. So we
Yes.
could grant a special exception use permit conditioned on submission and approval and issuance of building permit
Okay.
on the plan.
If that's what the
Mhm.
applicant
If that's what
Want.
you like.
You know, it just seems odd too, if we're looking at this file, let's say 7 or 10 or 12, 15 years from now. Are we gonna remember what happened here? Because this is a very
Or-
unusual circumstance. I don't think I ever recall approving an accessory apartment in this manner. It's just,
So you'd rather do the whole thing next month.
I think that would be my preference. Of course, the board.
But
can
if it
vote otherwise.
comes in under 800 or under, would it matter?
Well, then he's just gonna come back next month with a plan and it's gonna be pretty straightforward.
Just wants the special use permit. That's all.
So, I mean, if you don't mind coming to see us again, we could do this easily
I
next.
love you guys.
Excellent.
With that pending,
And then, but you'll know more, so that'll definitely be your last trip.
Could I ask a question? So if I come next month with a plan that exceeds 800 feet, for instance, and I would be requesting a variance for 801 square feet.
Yep.
Could I come with a plan that was not ready for Tom? Because that's a whole different set of documents than a floor plan that shows square footage. And because now you have to talk about electrical stamping, the whole nine. You have to get, I do have an architect already in case you guys approve me tonight, but it's a whole different
Yeah.
set of documents. Now, I mean, I can probably get a floor plan that shows the proper square footage and documented by a reputable architect, but I don't think I could come up with plans that are ready to submit to Tom for a building permit.
I wouldn't need to see
No.
a set of plans.
So, two things. Mr. Forster, you could submit just a floor plan. And then to go to Tommy for a building permit, you would need stamped and signed plans. However, I just want to just add one thing. The deadline for the August meeting is tomorrow. So I cannot do magic. And I would need that floor plan and a new application. Although I'm confused about that too now. I mean, the application for tonight was for a special exception use permit. And if we have plans that are 800 square feet or less,
It's just a carryover.
it's a carryover. So I'm not even sure what this is gonna be yet. If we could get floor plans that are 800 square feet or less, it would be a carryover. If not, it would be just
Addition.
an application for a variance for the difference of that square footage.
No,
It
it'd
would
be
not
both.
be,
Be both,
It'd be
because you
both.
can't approve a special exception use permit without
well,
first
I'm
solving the
saying if
variance
you
issue.
did, if It would be a carryover if it stays with 800 square feet. If it doesn't, then it's a new application. Sorry.
I think it's a
Correct.
carryover plus a new, isn't it?
It could, right, it could very well
It's gonna
be.
one of
Well,
the-
so,
Yeah.
but the thing is, what Denise, what I heard from Denise is, we don't have a notice requirement. Right? So her notice is special exception use permit regardless. So if we don't have a notice issue with the public, then,
Special
then,
exception.
then we can do whatever we need to do. Because she's saying that that area variance is not changing how she notices these. Is that correct?
Yes, it does. No. So
Oh,
That's
it
a-
does
the
change.
notice,
I misunderstood.
tonight's notice was for a special exception use permit. If we
Period.
carry it over and we have a floor plan that does not exceed 800 square feet, I don't have to renotice it. But if we have a floor plan that exceeds 800 square feet, then the application is for, we already have an application for the special exception use permit, then the application is for a variance for the difference in the square footage. That would have to be noted.
Right.
And in order for me
Okay.
to do all that, I mean, I could squeeze a couple of days, but I can't squeeze much more because all the notices, your packets, everything gets done next Wednesday.
But to help Mr. Foster, all he would need would be to somebody to color shade the square footage on his existing second floor plan, essentially to show us what how the 800 square foot or other number is calculated.
That
so
would work.
We can confirm that
By when?
by immediately.
Can't do it tomorrow. By when?
Now, you and I could talk and I'll tell you by when.
Okay.
Just talk, call me tomorrow, come see me tomorrow, and I'll talk to your architect and, how quickly can somebody do that? Like what Bart just said, we don't even need a new floor plan. We need the existing plan to be marked up to show the exact footage.
And then is he bound to that?
Yeah,
That becomes part of.
it becomes
Yes.
part of the approval.
That'll be
But is
part
he
of your
bound to
res-
that when now he does that real quick and gets that in for August. Now he submits a building permit, but in the meantime, they just tweak where.
No, he's
Posits.
got his special exception use permit is got to be part of his building permit application and he's bound to that.
Okay.
Whatever he gets approved here, he can stay within that approval and he can make minor tweaks as long as he stays within that approval. But if
Right.
he goes outside that approval, he's got to come back to us.
Then Tommy has to send him back.
Do you have a timeline what was your kind of construction timeline
For what?
for this?
Construction.
Yeah, well,
This project?
no, but
I mean,
general.
is it something you're trying to do urgently or just?
Well, yeah, of course, ASAP. I mean, there is a method to my madness, but
That's my.
I do things by the book, so.
Yeah, I don't want to rush you on that if you're.
No, but the approvals are, ASAP, of course, so. I just have to see how quickly an architect can turn around his calculations on that floor plan. For that 15-year-old floor plan that he didn't draw.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't, I just want to make sure I understand what Denise is saying. If it doesn't exceed 800 square feet, his calculation does not exceed 800 square feet, we can carry this over to next month if I meet her qualifications for notification.
If you require a
Correct.
variance, you're over 800.
If it's over 800, then I'm going to have to do it not August, but I would assume September for a variance
Probably by the
Correct.
time we get the notice requirements out.
and the plans drawn and all that stuff. Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
I could give you all those
Okay,
deadlines.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, you and I worked pretty quickly for today, so I know how quickly we can work, but just to get an architect on board to at least mock up these plans, if we could get that done in a week at max, then we could do this as a carryover for September, as long as it's 800 square feet or less.
Well, I already met with him in anticipation of this evening, and he's very knowledgeable about the town of Somers and has worked with the town before, so.
Right. I think I would encourage him to work, and figure out the square footage, what's square footage, what's not, so we know a definitive number, and we're not having a debate on what is the actual habitable square. Foot.
So if I come back and with 800 or so for next week, then a decision would be forthcoming next month.
Next month, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, call me tomorrow, Mr. Forster, or pop in. I'll be there from 7 to 2.
Very well.
So right now, we're just gonna have this as a carryover item at this point in
Yep.
time.
Mhm.
And if we can vote on it next month, we will, if you're 800 or less. If not, got to be noticed, and we'll look at a variance application, I assume, due in September sometime.
So Vic, this is a public hearing that we're continuing. Leaving open.
Well, I guess I should put it out to the public to see if anybody has any comments. We'll go online, but yeah, I think the public comment will remain open, I think. Okay. So there's no one here in the audience to speak. If anyone online would like to speak in regard to this application, we'll put some phone numbers up on the screen and you can give a call in. All right, so I guess everyone should keep their packets for now. And there probably will be revised plans, but we'll probably be voting on the special exception use permit next month, or the following month, the variance. Okay, we'll just leave it open to see if anybody wishes to speak in regard to this application.
Tommy, do you agree with all this?
I do.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, Paul, are we getting anyone trying to come on for a comment or question?
No, we do not have anybody.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna end the public comment for tonight anyway. We can open this up again when the application is open next month. Okay, sir, so we will carry this over and we'll see you next month.
Thank you,
Please
gentlemen.
coordinate with the building department as discussed. Thank you.
Very nice.
All right, so we're gonna go to the third item on the agenda, that of Richard and Diane Burque. And that application has been withdrawn. That's at 14 Overlook Way in Purdy. It's been withdrawn, so we're not going to address it. Fourth item on the agenda is that of 39 Cypress Lane LLC. Denise, as indicated, this item is off the agenda at this point in time. The applicant has sought other ways to resolve the issue.
Correct.
Okay,
May I just two quick things. Paul, I know you came in a little late, but I think you're on vacation next month.
That is correct.
So we are though having a meeting, because as of right now, the only person that cannot attend is Paul. So hopefully we'll have everybody there. And then with regard to 14 Overlook Way, please keep those plans that I mailed you and bring them next month, because they changed what they're asking for, but the plans reflect everything that needs to be looked at. So to bring those plans back next month is really important.
okay. And I believe everyone here at the meeting tonight will be here next month, except for Paul. And we don't know about Melissa, Denise?
Yep, Melissa should be able to be here next month.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I just ask a quick question on that, the 52 Lake Way Purdy's? So just to use the correct terminology, the applicant has now withdrawn this application?
Correct.
Oh, good.
They came
we'll
up
be
with they came up with a new plan to avoid needing any kind of a variance. Tommy was okay with the plan. And if has not, is going to be very shortly issuing them a building permit.
Good.
Okay. They're submitting a revised application.
So-
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So as mentioned, our meeting next month is the third Tuesday of the month, which is August 15th. And that meeting is going to be on. Usually we cancel the August meeting because everyone's away, but we seem to have more than enough for a quorum, so I think we're in good shape. Then the last item on the agenda is the approval of the June 13, 2023 minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the last month's
Yes.
meeting
Yes.
Yes.
minutes? Any changes, comments? No? So I'm just gonna approve by voice consensus. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nope.
No abstentions? Okay, Denise, the minutes are approved for June 13th, 2023.
Thank you, and I appreciate everybody's willingness to have a meeting in August because some of these people have been hanging around for a while and they want to get moving on their projects.
Sure. that's
My
great.
attendance is questionable next month.
That's okay.
What, did Tom say he was questionable next month?
Yeah, but
Yes.
I think if it's okay with all of you, Tommy and I could certainly speak. You know, before the meeting and, he's already met with all these people. I could even, type something up that I could give to all of you in Tommy's absence.
Yeah, Tommy, if there's anything that you want us to know, just give us a memo or speak to Denise and just relay it. Anything concerning any of the applications for August 15th, that would be helpful to us.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything further that we need to discuss? Any other issues? No?
No.
Okay, so I think we're going to conclude the meeting. So we're ending the July 18th, 2023 meeting. Good night, everyone, and we'll see everybody next month on August 15th. Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.